Hey, Devil Horn Salute. Been doing these Untold Truth videos. Just did number 22 about being harassed. Check it out. I'm in tiger stripes this year. I'm going back on it. I had to sew on my jump wings. I think everybody used to do that. Now I want to go back retro, like remember the dudes from Vietnam and shit. I at first thought it'd be cool, like sewing some patches, but that stolen valor thing comes up. I used to have this. I found it in a thrift store. It was a Special Forces Majors fucking BDU. It had Special Forces, the crossed arrows, Ranger tab, had all this shit, and I'd had people ask, "Can you wear all that?" Well, no, I can wear this, that, and that, but I can't wear that. And do I look like a Special Forces Major? So no, there's no stories about decapitated bodies, villages being blowed up. I didn't massacre any babies or women or anything like that. It was peacetime. So you sign the dotted line, and you can go in and you're going to get infantry training, and they combine your basic with your AIT, and it's a 13-week school. Okay, so, and a lot of it, they're going to teach you some shit. You're going to go through it one time, and that's it. Yeah, a lot of wasted training on nothing. Like, I just did a video not too long ago about urban training. One day. I had 1 day of urban combat training. So I also had 1 day of track mechanized infantry training. It was those the old armored personnel cars. I think it's an M113. It's the old box. It's like a box before the Bradley, and that's what used to transport troops around, like in Vietnam, and then afterwards, especially in Europe and that. Make sure my video didn't drop. We're doing good. And I got 1 day of track training. Now, if I could have ran better, I wanted to transfer to the Big Red One in Fort Riley, Kansas, being it would be closer to Kansas City. I'd be closer to home. And I had no problem going, after being in an airborne unit, I had no problem going to a leg unit, being mechanized. But I got disillusioned. By the time I could ever put in a transfer, the writing was on the wall. I'm going to leave it at that. So 1 day of track training. And then we did some tracer rounds. That was cool as fuck. Nighttime, they had us firing up some tracers. And I remember they were teaching us, you dig a pit, you put these logs on top, and you crawl down in there. It's a fighting position. And we were doing this shit at night, and it was really fucking cool. You get there on full auto and light it up. But then the second time I got in it, my fucking rifle jammed. My fucking rifle jammed in the middle of this training, and that was it. That was it. It was so fun, but then my rifle jammed, and that was it. And then one of the first times we're out in the field at the 09, my N16 jammed so bad I couldn't get it unjammed. Finally, I gave it to the Spec 4 guy that would throw people around the walls. He slammed it really hard on the ground, cleared the jam like that. Yeah, in Vietnam, people don't realize this, that they had the M14, then they went to the Mattel toy, the M16, and a lot of people got killed in the beginning because these things would jam. They couldn't clear a lot of jams. You had to have your cleaning rod and shove it down a barrel to clean out some, spent cases and shit. And they found out you couldn't load a magazine full. You had to leave a couple empty ones there. It's like a 20-round clip magazine. You would have to leave 18, and they're called magazines, not clip. They'll tell you that straight up. It's not a clip. A clip pushes in, like on a bull rod. These are magazines. So yeah, know that. So the uniform. So when I got in, they just changed over to the camouflaged BDU outfit. Now, growing up, we all grew up with these OD green things, and all the kids, man, used to wear this Army shit all the time. You had the bright patches. They weren't, camoed out yet, kind of the green color. They were all still bright like what you'd see on dress greens. And yeah, the USMC would have their little stamp on the pockets and shit. And yeah, we wore this shit all through school. I went through most of my teenage years. It was this big OD green thing. I chopped the sleeves off and looked like a Rambo dude out of Vietnam. And that was a style back then when I was growing up. So now the OD greens were phased out. Now you could still wear khakis. And one guy actually bought a set of khakis. I didn't, but you could still wear khakis then. And this was the transition. So everything was transitioning. The C-Rats to MREs. You got Hueys going to Blackhawks. You're losing the APC to a Bradley. C-130 to the C-141. And the drug test. We're getting rid of you druggies. We're getting rid of... In fact, the minute you step off the bus in basic training, you're done. So a couple more stories here that I come up with. I'm trying to, as I remember things. So we do these tax site things to where we help the helicopter pilots at night, know how to land, and we talk to them on all this bullshit. So I get picked up off my tax site one night, and we're going back to base. It's me and my roommate. I'm kind of nodding off, and all of a sudden the helicopter just dives. I'm like, it does a 45-degree dive. I'm like, oh, fuck. And they teach you to go into a crash position, and you don't think about it. You just go in a crash position, and you really, it's like whatever happens, it's okay. You don't really think about dying or anything. It's just, okay, whatever happens, happens. And thank God the helicopter pulled up. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And my roommate told me he had the earpiece on so he could hear what was going on with the pilots. He said, yeah, the pilot wanted to do a 45-degree dive to find out what it was like. Yeah, this motherfucker should have been reported, drug tested, the whole goddamn 9 yards. That scared the fuck out of me. Of course, when you're a dumb, stupid private, what do? You don't say nothing. We just get back. But my roommate said, yeah, they want to see what a 45-degree dive was. Here's another shit bag. When I had to go to drug and alcohol treatment after I didn't pass my drug test and failed it miserably, there's a guy there, McGuire, and he said he was a drug and alcohol guy in Vietnam, and what they do to junkies, the worst of the druggies in Nam, they would send you to the worst place on earth. They'd send you to hell on earth. This guy would admit sending guys to hell on earth because they were on drugs. They were abusing drugs. They were smoking pot, shooting heroin, smoking whatever. What a fucking prick, man. I think that's a war crime. A motherfucker that would willingly send someone's son, that's a mother's son there. That's a father's son there. That's someone's brother. That's an uncle. That's somebody's son. Somebody that got drafted. Someone who don't even want to be in this fucking place. And sending them to the worst place on hell in the hope they get zapped. How awful. And there's pricks like that. I might have... there's a guy that was in Tiger Force. I think it was a Lieutenant Hawkins, and I'm not sure. I might have met this motherfucker on a cab ride one night. It was an older guy, and I knew to be careful around the locals, especially what you said. And I thought it was weird. This guy goes, "Do you think you're some kind of badass?" I was in my dress greens, had a beret on, airborne. I mean, I'm all in dress greens, paratrooper. And I go, "No, I just want to go back home." I was just careful about what I said and that. And then I'm going to finish out with the little bugs here. Then this is another thing the recruiter will not tell you about, is that if you're going to live outside the infantry, guess what? You're going to have to live with the bugs. Now, in the wintertime, it ain't so bad with the bugs, but in the summertime, oh, Jesus, fuck me, God, the bugs are awful. You're going to learn about fire ants. Don't leave your food down there. We'd have these little helmet liners in basic. You set them down on the ground. Well, the fire ants would get in on your helmet liner, so you have to pick it up, put it on your head, and the fire ants would be biting you, and you're in a position of attention. Guess what? You can't move. Yeah, well, they're teaching you right there. You're in situations sometimes you can't move. So, yeah, you got these little goddamn fire ants biting the living fuck out of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, mosquitoes are another horrible thing, and I never really had problems unless I was at Panther Creek. That was the most buggiest place I'd ever been, but it was also my most favorite tax site to be at. It was also the place where I'd done magic mushrooms. High as fuck on magic mushrooms, flying in on the Huey, tripping my balls off out there while I was by myself. I got pilots sitting there asking me what kind of batteries am I... Hey, big yellow one, bro. I don't remember what the fuck it's called. Hey, come on and land that motherfucker, dude. And got out there just high as fuck. But one night I'm being eaten alive by mosquitoes. And it's a hot summer night. So I'm balled up. I got my poncho over me, and I'm just hunched up. I turned the radio off for a second so I could hear. And all I could hear was all these... It must have been 1 bazillion. I mean, bazillion. Zeroing in on me. And I just sat there, balled up like that. And I was so grateful I got pulled out of there. Sometimes they leave these motherfuckers out overnight in a bad place full of bugs or rain or whatever. I know one night me and a sergeant got left out in the middle of a thunderstorm. We're out in the middle of an open field by a tree with a long ass antenna in the middle of a lightning storm, and we're lucky we didn't get hit. Lucky Mad Mac lived down there in the fall, picked us up in a truck and hauled us the fuck out of there. The last time I really had some fun was right before I got in trouble. The day I think I wrecked this truck. I was driving all over the back roads of Alabama, like the Dukes of Hazzard and shit. And that was the old South and shit. And there was still that feel, you know, when you're driving back there, that little bit of a hillbilly rebel feeling. It was kind of neat being down south at the end of the old South. So I think I'm done rambling. It was just a couple stories that I remembered. Just one of those things. So, hey, if you like the shit, hit the like and subscribe. I don't know how many stories I can keep coming up. I wasn't in that long. I think I'm at 22, 23. I think I got one in reserve about some dark days and depression. I've been holding on to that. But it is what it is. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that like and subscribe.